Hello, I'm Kieran Lynch and welcome to OviCast, the Teagasc Sheep podcast. Each episode will bring latest insights, advice and technical updates for the sheep industry. We catch up in this week's episode with Godfrey from Sheep Ireland to give us an update on what's happening in the Central Progeny Test farms. Sean discusses the number of ewes and rams involved in the evaluation, and we discuss the mating strategy used on the farms this year, from the use of cervical AI to mob mating and the role of genotyping to identify parentage. With a lot of traits being measured on the farms, Sean takes us through some of the key measurements and why it's an invaluable source of maternal data. We finish up discussing performance recording, with Sean highlighting the benefits of signing up for LambPlus for pedigree and commercial breeders alike. We start off though with Sean explaining the role of the CPT flocks and the other sources of commercial data to go into the evaluations.
The role of the CPT farms is mainly it's a huge source of independent commercial data. So the CPT was first established in autumn 2009, with the first lambing season being 2010. So at this stage now we've got through 13 lambing seasons, I think, with 2023 is going to be the 14th. So I suppose commercial data is hugely important for Sheep Ireland. It's the foundations for the genetic evaluations. And currently, I suppose 50% of all data recorded to the Sheep Ireland database each year is from commercial farms like the CPT farms, as well as OviData farms and independent commercial farmers, and also some commercial data coming from Teagasc. As I said earlier, it's the foundation for genetic evaluations. Without commercial data coming into the database, we wouldn't be able to generate the genetic evaluations. Another important thing that the CPT does is it provides linkage for pedigree flocks. Linkage is hugely important as it allows the geneticists to compare information across flocks, which is hugely important for genetic evaluations. And also, I suppose the other thing the CPT allows us to do is validate the replacement index. That's another aim of the CPT, is to use high index replacement rams and see how their daughters perform over a number of years in the CPT flocks.
That's something we might tease out in a moment, but look, it's an incredibly important resource, and you said is that commercial data on their commercially run farms. John, you might give me a bit of an indication. What kind of numbers are involved here? How many farms and how many ewes are in the program at the moment?
Yeah, so currently, look, there's 3 farms involved in the CPT. We have a farm in Offaly, a farm in Kilkenny, and a farm in Tipperary. And I suppose the number of ewes that's running in those farms at the minute is approximately 1,500. I suppose back in the day when it first started, all the ewes would have been AI'd, so Sheep Ireland could establish the parentage of the lambs once they were born. And look, we've since moved away from that method of mating, the laparoscopic method of mating, I suppose, which we'll touch on in a while. And I suppose since the CPT began, approximately 400 rams have been used since it began in 2009, 2010.
It's a big scale. So how many rams are being evaluated this year?
So this year we've 2 methods of mating this year. So we've natural mating, where we've a team of 26 rams across the 3 flocks. So they're just running with different groups of ewes. So that there's 26 of those, and then we brought in 9 rams to be used to cervically AI a percentage of the ewes. So this year we've about 80% of the ewes in the CPT are being naturally mated. And then the remaining 20% were cervically AI'd. So the nine rams that we brought in would have been we'd have sourced those from pedigree ram breeders who were involved in the LambPlus program. So that's going to help those breeders' evaluations and their linkage going forward. And it also should make their rams more attractive for commercial farmers to purchase next year, with the added bonus of the commercial data backing up their evaluations. And then the 26 rams that were used for natural mating would have been purchased from pedigree breeders in the LambPlus program. And we would have, identified these rams from early in the summer that would have had high indexes, and they're the rams we target to purchase.
And I guess that data feeds in, you improving accuracy to have evaluation for those breeders the whole time, and them rams and that bloodline being used.
Exactly, yeah. So the information that's collected on all these rams, it flows back into the bloodlines of their dams, their sires, their brothers and sisters that remain in pedigree flocks. So all that information is used to increase the accuracy of the pedigree animals that are still in circulation in the pedigree flocks.
I just want to bring you back on one bit of it. You're talking about cervical AI, and some might be that familiar with it. By comparison to laparoscopic, Sean, what kind of hit rates are you getting on that?
The conception rates on it are generally between 60 and 70% conception rates. That's kind of what you'll be looking at.
Look, obviously, it's going to be very busy next spring for these. I assume that's all AI done one day, and that was the tradition even with the laparoscopic. It was a very intensive lambing period. Probably that changed the natural maintenance. It's spreading out a little bit for the farmers as well, a bit of pressure off.
Yeah, I suppose with the laparoscopic AI, what would have traditionally been done was, on one farm might have 600 ewes, you'd have a day of AI of 300, and then maybe 4 days later another day of AI of 300. So I suppose the intensiveness of the lambing has slowed down a small bit. But that's probably a good thing, I suppose, because it means that there's less ewes lambing on any given time, and there's just more. You can concentrate more on individual ewes to collect the data, or collect more accurate data, I suppose.
It's quite. I'm just thinking 300 showing in 2 or 3 days. It's quite a lot on any farm, particularly if the weather was again. But yeah, it's just an interesting aspect of it. Look, the natural mating this year, I suppose that's really, we'd have done single sire mating work on better farms and Teagasc flocks before, and yourselves as well. The group mating definitely is a lot easier from a management point of view, but it's also probably easier in case of a fertile ram there. But the genotyping has really made that possible on farms.
Yeah, exactly. So without genotyping, and I suppose without the latest DNA technology where we can predict sires and predict dams, we wouldn't be able to do it. And as you say, look, single sire mating is quite difficult, especially on large farms where they may not have the as many paddocks as you'd like, or things like that. So the mob mating is ideal for what we're doing. So kind of the way we do it is we kind of have 3 rams for 100 ewes. And then come lambing time, all the lambs are DNA tagged at birth anyway. So we have a tissue sample from all the lambs, and within 4 to 6 weeks after lambing, then all those samples have gone through the lab, and we've identified sires for all those lambs. So I suppose look, yeah, it's a very handy way of getting parentage.
I'm just thinking one novel aspect of that has to be the fact that there's probably rams showing up, Sean, that are outperforming others in that mob mating scene. They're more active.
Listen, yeah, it's a factor, but I suppose it's a factor on every sheep farm that mob mates rams. Look, we've seen rams over the last number of years that we've been doing it have produced very low numbers of progeny in year 1 and have gone on to produce over 100 lambs in year 2. So look, I suppose it's the risk you take. It's the risk you take when you do that form of mating, I suppose.
Yes, it's just an interesting, as you said, it happens in all commercial farms where it's known in most cases anyway, but it's certainly an interesting element of it. If I just move on to the recording, which I should probably put a bit of context around this, like when we talk about Central Progeny Testing, I suppose most of us think about the terminal traits, and just maybe to give a full picture of these farms, you're retaining new lambs out of a number of sires, so the maternal aspect has been evaluated as well.
Yeah, so the maternal aspect, I suppose it's the most difficult aspect to capture, I suppose, and it takes more time than the terminal. The terminal index, you can probably capture enough data in 1 year to validate a ram on the terminal index, whereas with the replacement index, that's much harder, especially around number of lambs born, daughter's milk, all these things, because if you bring a ram in this year, it'll be 2 years' time before his daughters are lambing down and we're actually collecting data from them. So that's why it's more difficult. So that, I suppose that's really the main aim of the CPTs is to get that information. In terms of selecting ewe lambs, as you say, we keep ewe lambs from every sire that is in the program, and that just allows us to validate that sire's indexes going forward.
No, as you indicated there, like the maternal traits, even mistakes of that, it could be a number of years before you realise that's a problem in the flock. So it's invaluable that they're doing that. Look, just in terms of the recording, I know even at this time of year you're busy on the farms recording detail on ewes. You might just give us some idea of the kind of information you're recording on these farms. Yeah,
so look, like most farms, lambing time is the most labour intensive on the CPT farms, and especially even from a performance recording point of view. We've got technicians on the ground 24 hours a day to collect the data that we're looking for. So I suppose even just to give some information on an individual ewe, so she's scored for lambing difficulty, mothering ability, and ewe milk. And then the lambs are then scored for vigor. And then on top of that, some other traits that we're also recording is mortality. So if ewes have dead lambs, we record that against them. Cross fostering. If we take a triplet and that foster that lamb onto a ewe who's had a single, we want to give the ewe who's going to rear the two lambs. Who's going to rear the single lamb and the triplet lamb. We want to give that ewe credit for rearing two lambs, as opposed to if we didn't record that, it would look like she only reared one. So all those traits are vital to collect at lambing time. And then I suppose as we go on through the year, we weigh the lambs when they're approximately 40 days old and 100 days old. We take a body condition score of the ewes just at those points as well. We're assessing the ewes and lambs for lameness, and we're also assessing the ewes for mastitis. The other one that we take at those times as well is a Teagasc score, so just how dirty the animal is at the back end.
That recording on ewe, obviously you're doing something similar again prior to mating on them. I imagine you're going back to them for some of them key health traits.
Exactly. So pre-mating then, maybe 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks before mating, we go out to all the farms, we weigh the ewes, body condition score them, take a Teagasc score. Again, any instance of lameness and mastitis, that's all recorded. All that. I suppose we record all that information through the Sheep Ireland app, which is free for pedigree and commercial farmers to download onto their smartphones. So
I imagine the farmers are recording that information as well in between.
Exactly, yeah. So look, the farmers are recording any instances of mastitis and things like that. If they could knock across an animal that has died in the field or whatever, they're able to record all that information through the app as well.
Look, when we're talking about recording, and you mentioned the LambPlus program earlier, obviously, Sean, that's available to pedigree flocks. Is it available to commercial farms as well?
Yeah. So look, the LambPlus performance recording program is open to all sheep farmers, pedigree and commercial. So look, the farmers are now able to sign up for the 2023 season. So look, breeders who have an existing account will be able to log into that account and sign up through that. And also, look, sign up forms will be available on the Sheep Ireland website, www.sheep.ie, or else, look, if you wish, you can call us in the office on 023 882 0451. So look, the LambPlus program, there's a lot of huge benefits to it, especially for pedigree breeders who are looking to increase they get increased sales. They have the access to enter the LambPlus sale in Tullamore each year. We've got the online ram search. We've got the directory of breeders every year. So there's a lot of benefits for commercial and pedigree farmers.
I think, Sean, even at the most basic level, anyone I've ever spoken to who started recording, the one thing they'll always point out is they never realised how many passengers were in the system until they actually start looking at the data. And it's probably something that's true of all farms to start this.
Yeah, look, that's a very good point. Collecting even the smallest amounts of data will help you to identify your poorer performing ewes, as well as help you identify your better performing ewes who you should be maybe targeting to select replacement ewe lambs off of. But I suppose identifying those passengers, as you say, is the starting point. And if you can reduce the amount of passengers you're carrying on every year, it should lead to your flock being more profitable in the long run.
Sean, it's great getting an update on the farms. Look forward to hearing a bit more about them in the future. Thanks very much for coming on.
Thanks, Kieran.
We're going to leave it there for this episode. I've included a link in the description to the Sheep Ireland website. You'll find out more about the LambPlus program and the app for recording on it, as well as other information and their weekly newsletter. That's it for me for this episode. Again, for updates from our sheep program, keep an eye on our Twitter page at Teagasc Sheep. I'm Kieran Lynch. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and listen in to future episodes.